end of the class. Kathy, looks like you were not there in the last class, from what I remember, or you were there. Might be wrong.
No, sir, I was not there. Actually, I was stuck in my college fest.
Okay, I have hazy memory, like it was last class, it was some other class. So no worries. What we did was, I'll quickly recap the last class. I'll open the document and show you uh, what we covered and what was missing. We happened to discuss some concepts about JMeter, and then Madhvi, who actually have some work experience, he was also not a bit too much aware of the overall concepts. So I explained her about JMeter, and then I thought like I'll set it up and then explain it to you guys. So this is a quick recap of last class. We talked about overall test design. It is bigger umbrella. Test strategy is smaller umbrella.
Can you share your desktop screen?
Okay, sorry, my bad. So Amit, are you able to see this?
Yeah, now it's
okay. So we had this class last week, and we discussed test design. That's bigger umbrella, test strategy, test plan, and then further granular concepts like going through the roles, assumptions, schedules, scope, objective, different types of risk and entry exit criterias, automation, and deliveries. We discussed a lot of testing techniques, and out of those two that we discussed with the example is boundary value analysis. We took the example of age validation, that if a business says anybody who's less than 18 and more than 57 or 56 exactly cannot use their business system. So we'll have to write validation like this: anything minimum minus 1 is invalid, anything max plus 1 is invalid, min to max everything is valid. So this is boundary value analysis. When we write test cases, we'll have to write some system or some process that we go through this every time and we don't miss any test case. And then there was equivalent partitioning. In this case, we take all the test cases and then we categorize them in valid and invalid based on different values. So here we took the example of mobile number. 9 digits are invalid, 11 digits are invalid, 10 digits are valid test case. And then we discussed different techniques: experience based or decision table, use case testing or testing the particular flow, checking the coverage and particular statement from the business document. We discussed environment setup, test data setup, hardware software setups, and then we started discussing this tool with the name JMeter. And then we happened to discuss the REST API. So what I did, this REST API, JMeter, and a lot of tools were there in the second last class, that is next Tuesday. So I have pulled some of that content into this class so that you guys get some more time in absorbing these concepts. And if you have questions, you can proactively ask instead of there is only one class, 1 week you get to ask the questions, and then there will be nobody until you get me into a call and try to understand it. So this is very important tool. Its name is JMeter. I pulled this tool and this whole REST API concept into this class. So if later class is needed, we will discuss it in further detail, or if you need any assistance on this. So JMeter is primarily used for non-functional requirements testing, that is like performance or the load testing, and scaling up the load onto the website. And what we discussed till now is primarily functional requirement and manual testing. What we are discussing now with the tool like JMeter, it is non-functional requirement and non-functional testing. And you will find a lot of non-functional bugs related to the system. But irrespective of that, you can automate the functional testing also with the help of JMeter. So there will be multiple tools to automate. One is Selenium, second is Maven, third one is like JMeter. So for JMeter, you do not need to know a lot of programming and coding. For Selenium, you need to know the Java coding so that it is complete automation. starting from clicking on the UI all the way to validating that results is good or not. So that is very detailed automation. This is primarily around APIs, but beyond API also you can automate a lot of DB testing and some other type of testing. So JMeter is a tool. I sent a link to download JMeter, and not sure you guys got time to set up the JMeter or not during your day, but I'll show you what it looks like. So let me open the link. So if you simply Google JMeter download, you'll get a link. Apache JMeter. First link, click this, and you are here. This is Apache JMeter page. You can download binaries. Binaries are like simple executable format, or you can download a zip file also. So this contains source code also. So go ahead, download either one. I preferred the source code. So this zip link I sent to you guys. The moment you will click here, it is 58 megabytes download. It will download and you'll have to unzip it. So once you download, it will look something like this. And once you unzip, it becomes application folder. It looks like this unzipped file. So you go to the bin folder, and most probably you will be using a Windows system. So this executable, or this is a jar file, you can create a shortcut of this into your desktop. You might need to enable some permissions. So once you run this JMeter, or you double click this, there will be a prompt, command prompt like this. It will run certain commands and start a GUI mode. So it is GUI for JMeter. And that GUI will look like this. Okay. And without going too much into detail, you will have a simple test plan like this. It will be written only test plan. This is how you start. So in test plan, you can rename it to whatever you want. And then once you click save, it will ask you to save. Where do you want to save as? So you can save the whole test plan as a JMX file. JMX is JMeter executable file. So this is the whole project plan. Everything will be bundled inside JMX file. So whenever you want to open the file for your project, this JMX file you'll have to take and open it. Or if you want to share this plan with somebody, so you can share also. You will simply take this JMX file and send it to them. Say like you can execute this one. So this JMX is a precious resource. All your work will be bundled inside JMX file. Then first thing is like you want to set up the thread group, or you just want to create a request. You can directly create a request inside this, like a listener, and there will be HTTP request here. Sampler producer. So somewhere you will have a HTTP request. But what I did, I created a thread group. Why thread group? Because I want to scale the user. So a thread is a single user, you can say. A thread group is a group of user. So for example, I created login request. I named it login request. I gave the URL and I gave the path, what I use after login. So there are different components in this JMeter setup. What I'll show you one example when it runs. So this play button is actually to start the execution of JMeter. I'm clicking again, and if you see here, some values are coming. These are the login results. So let me try to delete these. Okay, I'll have to clean it. Okay, so I'll show you one by one. Are you guys following this much? My voice was gone or something. Everything is stable. Amit?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Everything is stable.
Okay, because I have a train track, and whenever the train passes, I often feel there is a dip in the network. So we go to the website and we go to workforskills.com. This is our test website. So we do a sign out and sign in. So think from a tester perspective, the sign in is very simple test case. You can simply click username, password and validate sign in is working. But after the project has gone through multiple cycle, 5, 6 release has happened, you never know what all will break. Whenever a developer is giving you build, as a tester, it is your responsibility to ensure that everything is working fine. Everything is up to the mark. Not any whatever was working is still working, and what's supposed to be work with this new release is also working. So that also is very tricky. So to confirm that it is also working, we do a regression testing. Regression means everything is tested again. Regressive effort is put to test the whole system as a whole is working nice. So what we do, there are different techniques. A lot of people automate it using Selenium. And when I was an architect, what I did, I set up these JMeter test cases to ensure that the heart of the system or the engine is working. And what you are seeing right now, it is UI. So UI is primarily skin of the body of the whole project, and heart and lungs and everything. I'll show you how to test it. So here you see this network tab. If any one of you was not there, you should be aware when you click these 3 dots on the top right corner of the Chrome, you get to see more tools here. And in more tool, you will see this developer option. So in Windows, the shortcut is Control Shift and I. I is for inspector. So developer tool is an inspection tool. And here are different tabs, which I explained in last class. So this is network tab, and this button is to clear the traffic. So I'm typing some rubbish password, and you see that I got some response here. Some network traffic has come in, and my sign-in has failed. So this network traffic I can clear using this button. Now I sign in again. I delete those 3 garbage characters, and my login is fine now. I am signed in and sign out has come. But see, what has happened on the network is some communication between this client, this particular UI, and the server that is confirming that this is a valid user. So you'll have to understand what is happening. These are automated requests, but this is a system generated one. Means developer has written it to confirm that user is a valid user or not. Now this is a REST request. Okay. So REST concept, I sent to you guys few links, and I'll explain you what REST means. So REST is a technology that is called representational state transfer, REST. So representational state transfer is a technique in which basically everything happens in terms of request and response. So let us have a look at this particular diagram. Here is your web browser. I sent a request that validate whether I am a valid user or not. It goes to internet, it crosses internet and reaches my server. Server has some APIs written. Means server is designed in such a way that it can handle one request independently without actually knowing anything about UI or anything about any other status. So if I give username and password and tell that whether it is valid user or not, the responsibility of that API is to return me true or false, or at least some sensible message that helps me understand that I should show red alert to the user or I should let him sign in here in the client. So that's what API means. You can understand as a tester, like it is single unit of the work from the code side. So authenticate is a single unit, sign up is a single unit, and read the news is another unit, or read messages is another unit. So these are units of the work. API you can understand as unit of the work. And then there is underlying database and web server and a lot of infrastructure that you need not to worry about. You need to worry about, I am sending it username and password. It is returning me true or false or not. So this is REST architecture. This is general request response architecture. Everything in the website is a request and a response. Now come to REST. So any system, management information system as we call them, the system that are computer system which we use to manage the information of our enterprise or management information system. So every database has 4 types of requests: insert, select, update, and delete. What we call an enterprise is a CRUD operation: create, read, update, and delete. These 4 are primary pillars of any system. Apart from these 4 operations, there will be seldom anything that is like technically complicated. Primarily, we will have either we are reading some information, we are inserting some information, or we are updating or deleting. So in SQL, we call it insert, select, update, and delete. In CRUD, we call it create, read, update, delete, initials of the 4 operations. And in HTTP or REST, we call it post, get, put, and delete. Delete is same. Update is same for 2. In REST, we call it put. Get is select and read in different world. And as we call insert or create, we call it post operations. So there are different verbs here: get verb, put verb, post verb, and delete verb. And there are request headers and response headers and request payload. I'll come to these all concepts, but for now try to understand, like there are different sections in a REST request, and there are responses. So response will also have payload and header, and request will have header, payload, and parameters. So let us analyze this request, the login request that I just sent. So this request has headers. What headers it has? It has a URL, what URL it's supposed to talk to. It has a verb or the method, what we are trying to do. We are trying to insert something here. And then remote address, referral policy, and there are response headers. And there are multiple other request headers. And there is a payload. So this is called body. We are sending in the body that the user who's trying to log in, his email is sridatta.pachori@hotmail.com and password is welcome123 and verification text is empty. So this is some payload. So what we need to do now, this is a REST request and we got some response for this. So server responded that this user is a valid user, his user ID is 213, user type is professional, and blah blah blah. So much other information server has returned. So server has honored our request and said that this is a valid user, you should let him go through. That's why client said, like, or the web browser said, okay, let me change sign in to sign out because he's a valid user. So did you guys follow this much? Any questions till now?
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask something.
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
Sir, actually, I wanted to ask, is this a kind of SQL language?
No, this is not SQL language. This is a technology. So,
okay, sir.
So in SQL, so this is like basically bones and muscles of your web browser. That's what you can understand it as. So you, for example, how should I show you? Now take example of this hub request. I am here onto this one and I say hi. Okay. Now you observe here what is happening here. Now I'm clicking send, but nothing is happening, right?
Yes, sir.
You see? So there is a problem in this UI, but as a tester, you will not be able to conclude what is happening if you are not seeing all this, if you don't know how to read this documentation. It is not necessary for you in the beginning of your career, but if you are aware of this, you will have great mileage in your career. You will be jumping the designations very fast because you are much more aware of what is happening in the system. So you will simply say in a bug that nothing is happening when I'm clicking the button, versus you are writing in your bug like, I don't see any communication happening when I'm clicking this button. The system is totally dead because uh, debugger console says nothing is happening. Then that will have more weightage. And actually you can automate this. Now next part I am trying to show is how to automate it. So we saw this sign-in request, or let me show you another example because we were on that screen. I come back to hub screen again, and I say, in the morning this was throwing a 500 error actually, which is a very good test case. So when you see 500 in red color, it means something is broken. You should technically never see that 500 error. So something was broken here, which is probably fixed, and it is working now. So it is fine. We will ignore that test case now. Let me sign out and sign in again. So back to the Auth Token request. Why this is Auth Token? Because in the URL there is Auth Token. So let us see how I translate this request and how will I automate this particular test case. The login test case I will be automating. So I'll set up a new thread group. Okay. Assume that this is not there. I'm setting up a new thread group for you. So I call it VM thread group. I'll save this. Then I will add a sampler. I say HTTP request, and server name is workforskills.com. In the bracket, it means default is HTTP, but if you have HTTPS, you can write that. But default is HTTP. Port number we need not to worry because default is 80. And if it is anything different than 80, you need to write. So if it is HTTPS, it becomes 443. If it is HTTP, you need not to worry about that. Now our method is post. So how do you know it is post? You go here, you see request method is post, right?
Yes.
So I just choose post. So there can be different verb here. You can read about all those. So don't worry about that. When you start reading it, you will not understand a lot of concept. But if you keep on trying for 10-15 days, you will understand everything. Like a jigsaw puzzle, all the pieces will fall on place and you will be able to work nicely on this. It is JMeter, if you write in your profile, it is like most sort of thing today in the industry. Apart from like Selenium and Maven, which are full automation tools. And we have this path. So we talked about HTTP, we wrote workforskills.com. Now we have path. So this is the path. This is the REST API path. So when I go to server, I tell them like, okay, go to API folder and go to core folder and run the Auth Token executable. In the layman term, you can say Auth Token executable and tell me what is happening with this user. Is he a valid one or invalid one? And then there are a lot of other things, content encoding, blah, blah, blah. You need not to worry about all those. Now, body data. What is body data? So when I'm posting something, I'll have to post, right? If you are posting something in the envelope, then only it will be considered as post, right? It cannot go empty. So when you are sending letter cannot go empty. You will have to send something. So in this envelope, I'm sending this payload or the body content. This is JSON. This can be XML also. This can be variety of content. So I did this. Now I have pretty much ready request. My request is ready. I have written everything. So now see what happens. I will disable this because this is my old test case. I don't want you guys to confuse yourself with this one. So once my HTTP request is ready, in comment I can write like this is test for testing team, or when you are into real work environment, these comments will be helpful. So more information you load in these, more helpful it will be for you in the later time. So this is advanced. Don't worry about advanced right now. Focus on basics. So when I run this, it is running. It is not throwing any error, but I have no way to confirm what is happening behind the screen. So there is something which is called, we need to read the response, what is coming. So we have here what is called listener. We go to listener and we say view result tree. So whatever is coming in result, we will be able to view it. So we added view result tree. Now see the beauty. I click here, request is gone. And in the response, I have a red color response. That means what I am trying to send is failing. Why it is failing? Let us see. Do you guys see response code 401 in the blue color?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you are not aware of all these things, simply you can focus on response code. So response code solves 90% of the problem if you are working on REST API. So you can simply Google. Give me a second, I'll pull my charger. Okay, so the 401 status code indicates that the HTTP request has not been applied because it lacks valid authentication credentials, usually username and password for the target resource. If the request includes authentication credentials, the 401 response indicates the authorization has been refused for those credentials. So it is saying two conditions. You guys need to understand the difference: authorization and authentication. So 401 can come in both the cases when username and password is wrong, or I'm not supposed to access this URL, but I am trying to access it. So how we ensure that URL should be accessible? So if you see something here, this is called API key. So as a gatekeeper, I have given you a key to the lock that if you have this key, that means you will be able to access this. And then I type in my username and password and then I access it. So what I do here, these request headers are something which we missed while sending the request. So let us copy them, all of them like this. And then I right click here. How will I add request headers? I have no way here to add the headers. So each and everything can be configured in this JMeter. You go here and preprocessor, probably. I have something that is called HTTP request manager, header manager, config element, and then request HTTP header manager. Okay, I go to HTTP header manager, and how will I create this? I have a lot of headers. So simply you can say add from clipboard, and you see the beauty of this tool. Everything that I should have to type is automatically pulled here. Now I have all the header which I am sending with the request and all the response. All the values for the header. So all I need here is this API key. all these are added by the browser itself. I didn't really need it. Server doesn't demand all these to be there, but browser adds this as extra information. So now let us try running this one. I run this test case again. And in the result tree, you see this icon is turning into green. Instead of red, it has become green. And the response code is 200 now. So now let us see what 200 means. That's how you will line by line, if you progress, after 15, 20 days, you will be like entry level expert in the REST API and JMeter. So 200 implies that the response contain a payload that represent the status of the requested resource. And error message usually is not a representation of that resource. So it is saying if 200 comes, that means everything went fine and you are okay. So status are very clear. They are self-explanatory. Only thing is like once you start using them, then they will be in your brain and you need not to worry about anything else. If you are understanding that status, that means you understand REST API. So because 200 came back, what you are expecting is actually you got back. In this case, we were expecting it to be okay, but it is not okay. It says like authorization is missing. So now let us see the magic with the header. I delete all unwanted, and I guess I don't need authorization also. So I'll delete because authentication is when I'm logged in. So let us run this test case again. In my result tree, you see, I was sure that I need only one header. Now when I change this API key to something rubbish text, my request started failing. And when I change this API key again, my test will start passing. So this looks cumbersome to you guys because right now you are setting it up for the first time. But when everything is getting released, lot of project components are getting released, then this will be very handy. Suppose here you have 100 test cases. You are the group of 10 testers or test engineers who have written 100 test cases like this. For the sign up, for the login, for loading of the news page, or every API you saw here, whatever code you are seeing here, you simply documented it here like this. It took me hardly 3 minutes to document this green and red color, and then I have peace of mind. Like I need not to worry about what is happening in code and all. I come here in the morning, I press the green button. If everything is looking green, then only I'll start my testing, or else I'll call my manager and say, look, everything is looking in red color. I don't want to waste my time. So this is the power of that JMeter tool. When you tell that information to your manager with this much authority and data, then you have some different status in the team. And as an engineer, you are doing something good. You're not simply following the herd. So this is about validating the results. This is the result tree. Now I'll show you the next level. So let me enable this and disable this one. So the next level is response assertion. So what is response assertion? Let me show you actually. So assertion is like confirming that what I'm getting is indeed what I wanted. So there are two possibilities. If I'm typing a wrong username password here, I should get a negative response, that is 401. But like I'll type that when I'm typing sridatta.pachori, I should get a 401. So here, this is response assertion. I said I want to look only response code and it should be 200 because my username and password is right. And in this one HTTP request, I'll actually change my password to 45 and I'll add a response assertion. Add assertion, response assertion. my response code should be 4 not 1. Okay. So because I'm typing a wrong password, I should get a 401 onto this one. So now both the test cases are enabled. I can name it as like negative and remove this one. Yes. So this is my login request. I name it as valid login request and result tree, let it be there. I'll name it as negative HTTP request. And I run these two test cases. Now my result tree you should see my valid HTTP assertion false and negative HTTP request assertion is false. Probably because I moved them in the same header group. So let us see what came. My error code was 200. I think I'll have to make them in the separate thread group. I wanted to do them in a single group. So see, it is valid login request pass and negative HTTP request is not passing now. Clean up all of those like, and everything from the result tree is gone. I'm executing it again. I got the result tree. This is green. View result tree. So let us see what is coming in this. It is giving me 200 OK. So that means I should not expect 401. I should look for this particular data. So for either I'll have to ask the developer to change the code to return me 401, or I'll have to read this body element saying that user ID is equal to minus is less than 0 is a negative, is a expected result. So here in the response assertion, you will change it, response message, and then contains user ID -3. Okay, this is bit powerful scenario. So look at this carefully. User ID -3 is not matching response headers. This is like hard coding, and so the string -3. You'll have to experiment like this, the way I'm doing, and I say like apply to main samples only, and then you are saying like response message, and response message should contain or has substring of this this particular type -3. I again run, and this is the response body. Request. Let me debug it. So what you can do at the worst, you can say matches, and then run the test again. So this is also not matching. So it is saying my test configuration is bad. It is not like assertion has failed. So this response assertion has to be more smart. Equals. I again do that. I again test. You can always go here and see. Comparison is this, and they received OK. So we are trying to compare OK with this response body. So let us modify it again. Field to test, text response, and response headers, no status. So what I'll do, I'll debug this one. But look, now it is trying to compare the received message with the exact message that we anticipated. There might be some gap in the strings here and there. That's why it is not matching. So, but this one, valid test is always passing. You go through this, and then once you have a lot of test cases like this, you can go here and add a summary. So there will be a summary report. So all these test cases, you can see a summary like this, positive, negative in a report. So what I'll do, I'll fix this one and show to you guys probably tomorrow or the next class, and then we will see what was the problem in this one. Does that sound good? What is overall impression of you guys about this tool and what we try to achieve here?
Sir, it was nice to work on this, but actually it was complicated for the first time.
Yeah, it is complicated. So I'll tell you, in my team, there were only a couple of guys who can actually work on JMeter. So one was from QA team and one was me, man. I was there. And a lot of times some bugs are there which will not be reproducible, and you can produce them only using JMeter. So what I'm telling you is part one of the story. Part two of the story is like when there is a load in the system or non-functional requirement, 100 user you want to simulate that if 100 users are using the system, how the system is behaving. Login is happening in 1 minute or login is taking 10 minutes. All that you can test using this. So even if you are not champion in this, if you are aware about this little bit and little bit about REST APIs, as a fresher or as a beginner, it is very good for you. And based on your need, you can either scale up or you can forget about it. Later in the life, it might be helpful for you sometime. So idea of this is that if you know little bit about these tools and technologies, then you are a bit ahead of everybody in the curve. The guys who are competing with you, even if they are developer, then you will get the priority because you have actually used these tools and you have hands-on experience on this. Actually, I should not suggest it, but if you want to bring down a website, you can bring down by using this tool, but it is illegal. Don't do that. If you're doing that, do with somebody like me, whom you are informing that I am testing and I'm loading 1 million user and that hitting 1 million requests. Even if I'm hitting 5-10 requests, my system is CPU fan is honking now. So if you're using like 10,000, 20,000 users, your system itself will crash. Forget about the server. So there are multiple use cases. And when I say as an engineer, you should know and you should learn a little bit about that because it opens your brain towards the possibilities, what all is possible. So that was about JMeter. What I'll do, I'll suggest that you guys go through the different menu option and at least install and see what it is. And then if you have any questions, you can always come back or we can have another session if somebody is specifically interested in this. So,
Yes, sir. I would like to actually work on this JMeter.
okay. Let me open my document. I was following some last time. Okay, so we discussed the different request parts. See, before coming to this class, you were not aware of all these concepts. But after the class, uh, you were at least bit aware. You saw something happening, and you saw a lot of test cases in action. Without actually going and testing it again, you just press a button, and it will test for you. So machine will do its job. Humans will do their job. We should not do each other's job, vice versa. Like similarly, like request header, there are response headers and payload. So I'll quickly show response header and payload example, and then I'll move to next section. So request header I showed you, and this is request payload. See, these are response headers. Every line has its meaning. And then there is this response payload, what came back 213 user type and all. If you see this, this all information came back in response. So this is the response payload or the response body, what we call. So we have response payload and this is JSON object. So you can use XML also, but primarily JSON is used. This is nothing but a class object is converted into JavaScript format. So JavaScript object notation of a standard Java class is called JSON. So I talked about this request response API and the overall architecture. These are different status code. So like I said, 200, 201, 210, different has anything related to 2 is a success. Anything related to 4 is a client error. Like you did some mistake in either in typing username or password or something from client side is wrong. And 500 series like on the server something is broken. So a developer or somebody who's maintaining that server need to check it. And this is JMeter architecture. So you start, you write some test cases, and those test cases are sent to server, and JMeter processes the response and then shows you the results by calculating or computing based on the configuration that you have defined there. And then you add that, and based on that JMeter, you can generate the reports, like how many test cases are passing, whether you are able to use 50 users or 100 users or 1,000 users are able to use. That conclusion you can draw. As an engineer, it doesn't matter to you much, but as a manager or a QA manager, when you are seeing these numbers, you will be very happy. Like, my job is done. Those are primarily interested in these kind of reports. How many users are able to use it? Now, this all is from some reference website where they told like what all you can do with JMeter. It is very powerful tool and it is from Java community. So Java community is very smart and they are very tech savvy. And when they build these open source tools, so they ensure that it is doing the maximum of its job. So it's not only REST API or SOAP UI. There are 10 different things which you can do with JMeter. Even I am aware of the 3 or 4 of these. Rest all I also have never touched. So that was about JMeter uh, and non-functional requirements and functional requirements and the REST API. So this is all I wanted to cover in today's call. Anything specific that you guys had or something you heard in the call you want me to elaborate on it? No questions? Okay. Amit, do you have any? I'm not sure if you're around.
No, Shri, I don't have any questions as such. It was a good session.
Okay.
I think, I mean, if you have
Okay.
not gone through the REST API, it is little complex. You may look like at the moment, but as she said, I think it will be okay if you just work on it for a few days.
Yeah, it should not be scary. This is like doing application testing. Once you are in a company, you will hear all these jargons and the word REST API, JMeter, this and that, this non-functional requirement, functional requirement. So these sessions will make you a bit more familiar. It's like meditation. If you have heard and think about that particular scenario, then you are comfortable and you will not be scared of anything like this. It is nothing. These are very simple tool. Only thing you need to do is like give the time and effort. So, and the third thing that you need is like some website where you can test this. You cannot simply pick some random website and start testing it. There are certain sample websites available where you can use your brain to configure and test those sample websites. So I'll send one URL where some REST APIs are there. You can test and automate using JMeter. So next section is about that TFS tool, Amit. We showcase the TFS tool. So if you can just show that test user and what all they can do with that in probably 4 or 5 minutes. Amit?
Actually, I have just set up the test user, but I have not tried doing anything.
Okay, so I'll just introduce them and then we will all the operations look good and then we will hand it over to them.
Yeah.
So help me with the login. And if it works for me,
You can
fine.
try, it should work.
Okay, I'm pausing the share. So once it logs in, then I can show them.
I have shared the password in WhatsApp. I can just check that.
Yes, I'll take that. So meanwhile, I'll discuss this Thursday class, Amit. Thursday is holy, so a lot of us might not be able to commit the time. What's your thought on that? You want to move that to Friday, Saturday, Sunday? If Sunday looks good to everybody, I'll move it on Sunday evening.
Okay, sir.
Fine? Okay.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Sunday evening, I'll move this class too. I'll drop a message.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Amit, site is not loading for me.
No.
No, it loaded. It loaded. I'll have to sign out and sign in again.
Yeah, that's correct. Microsoft is.
So this is another tool that we set up it for you guys so that you can use this for understanding what is the environment and how different tests where can we write test scenario, test cases. If you remember in the third class, we had shown you this tool little bit. So we are creating one user ID for you guys. You can log in and try to create some test cases. So sign up and log in and similar thing. Or you can see the existing test cases. So if you see here, I'll click sign in. The URL is vnurt.visualstudio.com. This is the URL. Once you click this URL, it will prompt you to sign in. And in sign in, the credentials will be shared with you. But right now I'm logging in, explaining you how it works. I stopped this here because bandwidth was a bit low for me. So
No, just asking.
Okay, I say use another account. Starting the sharing again. So the account name is test at VNurt.com, and I say personal account. Password I am typing is I'll share this password with the team once it is ready, because Amit created it just before the call. We couldn't even validate. So look, this is vnurt.visualstudio.com. Here is the project name, organization name, and this is project. And you might have some work item, like you need to test something, or you are assigned to some project. If there are multiple projects, you will see multiple here. So I click VNurt. I go here, click VNurt. The VNurt is loaded, and then I'll see different test cases, test scenario, and different details. I mean, like last time, you might have to help me to navigate. Sorry about that. This is a little bit slow from my side. Otherwise, this tool runs very fast. I mean, this thing is loading for me forever.
Okay, so maybe you
If
can stop the
you,
share and give it to me. I'll share. I'll show a few things. There's nothing which is set up, but maybe work items and all those things I can share. I can show her.
okay, my sharing is stopped. I mean,
So basically, if you go to boards, you should be able to.
Yeah, your screen is loaded.
Okay,
So can you go to home page from VNut, the first one? No, on the yeah, the first one, the project organization. Yeah, that is the organization.
I am at the VNet page.
No, can you click the one before it? Yeah, so that is your organization, and these are the projects.
Yeah, so we have two projects basically. Inside this project, for example, VNet.
Okay, once we are inside VNut, then we can create the work items or.
Right. So basically, what all you can do, you can see the dashboard. Dashboards are generally used to see where our project stands at the moment. If you have set up the agile project management and all, okay. Then if you have any reading materials, you can put it in the wiki. You can create boards. Okay, boards. These all are basically project management terms or project. How do you manage your project? So work items are there, then boards are there, backlogs are there, sprints are there, and queries are there. So queries are basically used to say suppose if you have thousands of bugs in the system, right? In the system, and if you want to find out some specific bugs, you can create queries. Then repository is generally used to uh, is to keep your source code, and then generally here is what your interest area would be. So you can have test plans. So you can create test plans over here. So for example, we have created a small test plan for. So basically, since this has popped up, using this also you can do manual. You can basically track your manual testing. You can write tasks for or automate your testing. And also do load testing. Having said that, I have not explored these two areas, but it does have some integrations. And so using the test plan, using text plans you can create various test suites, okay, and create your test cases. These are the test cases basically. So one of the test case would be to create the user. Then you can create a test case to verify the user, and you can see basically the news menu is getting loaded, the class menu is getting loaded. So like this you can create n number of test cases, okay, within the test plan. And yeah, so basically this can be used to manage your entire test cycle, and then you can do some load test as well. I have not explored this area, so maybe we can give this user ID and credentials, and maybe we can use this tool uh, to create some of the test plans and test cases and see how it works. Right. What else? What else she want me to show? She able to follow. Hello. Oh, actually, she has, I think, dropped off. So let's say, uh, let me share it again. So this is all about TFS. You cannot do a lot of testing using this tool, but what you can do is you can do your test management using this tool. This is actually used also to manage your development cycle. So you can actually create your task, your work items. So if I have shown you the boards, so you can create your boards over here, wherein you can say how many items are there in your backlog, and then you can move them from active to resolve to close state. So this also can be used for your testing task management. And then you have a concept of sprints, queries, and then lastly the test plans. Okay. Any questions you guys have on this? Any one of you?
Also,
Okay. She has also joined.
Yeah, I was dropped out because of passing train.
Okay. Okay. So Shri, I have very high level. I have just explained what it does have. Okay. So we have created some sample these test cases, right? That I have shown them. Uh, it also
Yeah,
has it also has an integration with load testing and all, but I have not explored that. Nor we generally use this tool to do your load testing and all.
yeah. These are test scenarios actually. I mean, test plan and test scenario, and it has a lot of test cases. If you click any one of these, there will be a lot of test cases inside it. So that's how the grouping is done: test plan, test scenario, and test case. Can you
So
click another something login related?
so it doesn't have much.
Last, last time when we saw, there were a lot of test cases listed inside it. Probably it is for that particular user who has created.
This one has it. Login has it.
Yeah.
Login, if you look at.
So like login is a scenario, and these all are the test cases inside that.
Right.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'll explain requirement traceability metrics in the next class. Once we have some test cases here and we know everything about, and we will generate an argument and also produce the SSR.
So basically, whatever work you guys have done on the Excel, right? Remember when we started the classes? Before we started the classes, right? We have written for each and every area. We have written a lot of test cases, right? Ideally, instead of writing in Excel, it should be covered. It should be written in some tool, and one of the tool is this TFS. Then we should try to write the test cases. For simplicity reasons, we have earlier given you the Excel sheet. but in actual environment, it is mostly tracked in one of the tools.
Yep. Okay. Amit, we'll ensure that the repo access is not there, or code access is read only, and then we can give the username password to these guys.
Sure.
Just try the tool
Uh-huh.
and a little bit. So you guys can primarily go to test plan and test cases and try to write new test cases. And in any case, do not delete others' data or remove until unless any test case you created, you can remove it. If there is any error, you can correct it. Okay, Amit. Thank you for this taking over and walking through.
I'll stop my share now.
Any questions? So far, so forth. Anyone? Okay. No one has questions. No one has questions. Okay, Amit. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for taking time this evening and then
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, guys, I'm also sharing the recording just in case if you want to revisit, you can go back and check those recordings. After every session, I have shared the link. Okay, so if you have missed it, if you have missed either the entire session or part of the session, go ahead and watch that recording and even then, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the group, or you can directly post it to Shri.
Super. Thank you, Amit.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.